The views expressed on the Warren and Bradley Show are not necessarily those held by the hosts, Warren and Bradley, nor those of the proprietors of the website, warrenandbradley.com.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, fire!
Let's make some magic.
It is magic time. Hello and welcome once again to the Warren and Bradley Show. I'm one of your hosts, Bradley Victor.
I'm the other host, Warren Van.
It is episode 29 of the Warren and Bradley Show. Warren, fresh off another excursion to... Where'd you go this time?
I actually spent the night last night in Olympia, and I went to the Tacoma Art Museum today.
Why were you in Olympia to begin with, and then what was going on?
Visiting friends of the girlfriend.
Okay, friends of the girlfriend.
Yes, so we were down there.
So not friends of yours.
And, well, someone both of us know actually was there, other Warren, the other guy named Warren.
Oh, the other Warren. There's another Warren, ladies and gentlemen.
There's another Warren who is also not 80.
Yeah.
And he used to live here in our town, and now he lives in Olympia, and he was actually there.
And he's the only other Warren you've ever met who wasn't in his late 50s.
An Asian Warren once at a Circuit City.
Okay.
And we both got really excited about it because he was like in his 20s or something too. But that's about it, yeah.
It's not a name that you hear very often nowadays.
No, it's not. I'm always pushing to bring it back. I don't know why. You know, all these old names are coming back now. They're trying to, name your child Belinda or something. I don't know if that's true.
Ethel,
all these things,
like
right?
That, yeah.
You'd think that Warren would come back at some point.
Yeah. I don't know. It's a fucking weird name.
Is it weird?
I mean, Warren, the only other uses I've ever seen of Warren, well, Warren G. Harding, of course.
Yes.
And then I remember in Far Side cartoons, there was always somebody
the nerdy,
named Warren.
weird guy would always be named Warren.
Yeah.
Like, Warren, stop picking your nose or something.
Yeah, because Warren's a funny name.
Gary Larson. Actually, I was thinking about, as I was on the road this weekend, for some reason, it occurred to me as I was sitting there in the seat thinking about how odd it is.
Did you ever ask your parents why they named you Warren?
I did. I asked my mother that years ago, and she claimed that I had been named after Supreme Court Justice Warren Burger. And I was like, oh, that's interesting.
Why the hell would they name you after Supreme Court Justice Warren Burger?
I don't know. I asked her about it years later.
They
she
were
was
big
like,
fans of the judiciary system or something?
And then she was like, that's not true. And I was like, well, thanks for telling me that. Apparently they just stumbled upon the name and thought it would be a good name. Because it's weird, because you think it would be like a grandfather or a great uncle that would have it. I don't have any other relatives that have the name either.
Well, my middle name is Arthur,
Yes.
which is kind of a weird name nowadays, but that is a family name. There's a reason why they would name me Arthur.
And I wouldn't be a proponent of naming a child Arthur as their first name, because then you're called Art.
Yeah, it's horrible.
Which is not a good name.
No.
But speaking of art, I did go to the Tacoma Art Museum.
Yes, good segue there, Warren.
Saw a traveling show about gay art.
Now, is this just art that's made by gay people, or is it art that has to be inherently gay? What makes art gay?
Well, it's very confusing. I think it was originally a show that was supposed to be at the National Portrait Gallery and the Smithsonian. There was some sort of censorship issue because people were like, this show's pretty gay. So it ended up touring around, and it was in the Brooklyn Art Museum, and now it's in the Tacoma Art Museum.
So there are just lots of cocks involved?
Well, it's supposed to be about portraiture and its relationship to people putting homosexual things into the painting, but sort of smuggling them in a way that it's not very overt.
Okay.
Yeah, but I don't know. Thematically, it was all very confusing.
Give me an example.
That's the thing. It was like there was a sketch of some people in a bathhouse, and one guy's kind of looking at another guy, and he's sort of got a towel that's a little rigid in the front.
Okay.
We're like, that's pretty gay. And
So is this something that you had wanted to see, or
no? It was not. The girlfriend is very into art.
Yes.
And museums.
Yes.
So she had wanted to see it, and it was the last Sunday it was going to be showing there. So we went down and saw it. And
was it worth it?
It was fine.
So I was wandering around today. I went to a movie last night, which I haven't done in a very, very long time, and I always forget whenever I go to movies that people are obnoxious.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember that normally throughout my daily life, but I forget to apply that to the movie-going experience.
When you're thinking about your experience of going to the movies, all you're thinking about is you sitting there watching the movie. You don't think about the legions of yokels that are going to be making noise the entire time.
Well, and the new thing too, and I don't know how new this is because I hardly go to movies, but the 40 minutes of commercials before the movie. And then when you finally do get into the previews, which I'm usually like, oh, good previews.
Yeah.
Then it's like 12 or 13 previews.
Yeah.
And the irritating thing about the 40 minutes of commercials is that people have gotten used to ignoring those. So they just talk and blather and get on their cell phones and are generally obnoxious. And then once the actual previews start, they still just blather and talk because it's kind of like just a continuation of the same bullshit. And that irritates me. Like, I think once previews start, you shut the fuck up.
You want to see the previews.
You want to watch the previews.
Yeah.
And we had some doofus sitting behind us. I went with IT guy John and our other good friend Sean. And this guy would just, any preview that would come on, he'd go, huh, I'm not going to see that. And his wife would go, and then the next one would come on and he'd be like, yeah, right. And then he would start explaining to his wife, like there was a preview for, there was some short thing about the life of Pi or something like that.
They're making a movie of that?
Apparently, like Ang Lee or something. And
yeah,
there's some weird clip from it. And he was like, oh, the life of Pi. Yeah, that's a wonderful book. And just for like 10 minutes while this clip was showing, the short clip of the movie. Yeah, I don't understand how they could make a movie out of this. And yeah, it's a wonderful film. I'm going to read the book again because I didn't understand it. But and he just went on and on and on. And I was like, oh, Jesus. And so I started like loudly whenever he would say something, I go, oh, for God's sake. And he didn't.
No. Those are the kind of people that pick up on things like that.
No. And then when the previews finally started, he was still, just, yeah, right. Oh, yeah, that looks great. Yeah, I'm not going to spend my money on that. And then finally, as the opening credits of the film began, and it's like, okay, put on your 3D glasses. The movie is starting. He was still blathering on, and I was like this close to unleashing upon him. But luckily, our friend Sean did before me, and probably in a more diplomatic way than I would have.
Was he diplomatic?
Kinda. He did the... It was funny because I didn't see the guy, but he, I don't know, sounded like he was in his 50s, maybe even in his 60s. And Sean just turned around and was like, dude, we can hear everything you're saying, dude. Like, come on. Oh, I didn't realize that, the movie's starting now? Oh, I didn't realize. And I was like, okay, shut the fuck up.
Well, that's a good reason to have Sean there. Sean would do that.
Yeah. Well, and I was about to just, I don't know, go George Costanza on him or something. But
oh, no, the thing with Jerry Seinfeld when he almost gets in the fight with the guy in the wheelchair.
No,
that kind of situation. Yeah. You don't want that.
No.
You saw the film Prometheus.
I did.
And you kind of enjoyed it.
Yeah, I thought it was good.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to this very much.
Good.
Yeah.
It was the first 3D movie I'd ever seen in the
I still have not seen a 3D movie.
Yeah. I don't know. It was the spectacle of seeing it in 3D. It was new to me, so it was kind of enjoyable, but I don't really see it as being that exciting. I mean, having to wear the glasses was really irritating to me. They were pinchy. Written like that. And everything is kind of a little dimmer, I think, than it would be normally watching a film. And I kind of hope this fad dies away. I'm glad that I saw something in 3D, but I don't really see it as that amazing. This film just looks better. It looks like a fucking movie. I was seeing footage of, Peter Jackson's doing the Hobbit movies. God. And his whole thing is that he's doing them in 3D, but he's also doing them at 48 frames a second instead of 24. Because he's like, oh, it's going to be amazing and beautiful. And apparently they showed footage, like 10 minutes of footage from it at some Comic-Con or something, I don't know. And people were like, ugh, because it basically just makes the film look like, I don't know, like an HD reality TV show or something. It's like, oh, it's like you're right there. That's the point, though. You don't want to be on set watching the actors.
Well, especially if you're watching an elf movie.
Yeah, and that's what people are saying. It's like it was very obvious that people were in costume. It was very obvious that people were wearing makeup. It's like you want the filmic filter over things to put you into a fantasy world, to believe that it's a heightened reality. It's not supposed to be real. It's supposed to be more than real.
And especially in that genre, it's escapism.
Yeah.
You're not trying to get into the nitty-gritty. You're not trying to, like, see everyone's pores.
No.
You want, like, the unicorn princess to, like, look lovely and whatever happens,
I don't know if that's in that book. But, I mean, I don't know. Once the footage is finished, we'll see what it looks like. But I don't think I'll be going to see
No,
I
won't be. I guarantee you I won't be going to see that.
But I guess we'll reserve judgment. But I think it's just a bad idea. And I blame James Cameron for this kind of bullshit.
James Cameron, ugh. Yeah, I agree.
I was wandering around. I kind of got dressed up yesterday. I'm not sure why. Just wore the tie and everything. And
during the day?
Yeah. just to go do my errands. And I was wandering around, and it was funny because we've already discussed me almost getting beaten up when I wore a suit before. This time, I kept being mistaken for employees of the various businesses that I was entering into. Which I don't ever see any employees wearing a shirt and tie and a vest. But
that's maybe in the 50s.
Maybe. But I was at Fred Meyer, a local store that we have here. So it has everything. It's the only place. It does have everything. You can go buy a carton of milk and a pair of underwear.
Yeah, you can get everything you need there. You could, if you had to pick one store you needed to just survive the rest of your life, you could do worse than Fred Meyer.
Yeah. So I was in there, and there was this old man. I was looking for a razor, actually, because I was planning on shaving after a while. And there was this old man in the shaving aisle looking very confused, and he saw me. And it was one of those things where he made a presumption based upon my appearance, and I didn't realize he had made the presumption until the conversation had gone too far for me to back out of the presumption. So he was like, "Yeah, where are the toothpicks?" I was like, okay, he's just asking me where the toothpicks are because he thinks I might know. Yeah. And I thought he meant dental floss picks, like, you know, those weird...
Oh, that old man doesn't know what those are.
Yeah, I don't know.
He wants an old wooden toothpick.
Well, and then he's like, I was like, what do you... toothpicks? He's like, the kind that are like a fork. I was like, okay, a fork toothpick. What the hell are you talking about? And so then I was kind of dithering, trying to think, okay, where would toothpicks be? And then by that point, I realized that he thought I was an employee, and he expected me to bring him to where the toothpicks were. And if I were an employee, I would know where the toothpicks were.
Yes.
And so I said, okay, follow me. And I went into the aisle where I thought the toothpicks might be. And I found some toothpicks. It was in the aisle that has like the charcoal briquettes and like the paper plates and things like that.
Yeah, that kind of stuff.
And I'd never seen toothpicks there. I'd never purchased toothpicks.
It seems like the kind of place where they might be, though.
But I figured that might be where they were. And there were some toothpicks there. They were just the wooden ones. And he was very disappointed. Why don't you have cocktail toothpicks and the other kinds of toothpicks and all these toothpicks? I was like, maybe they have them somewhere. I don't know. But I couldn't say that because I was an employee. And
you had a ruse going here for no reason. Yeah.
And I showed him where the toothpicks were. So then he asked me who the purchasing manager was at the store.
This is not information you're going to have.
No. And I was like, you know what? I don't know if he's in right now. And then he asked me if I could find out if he was in. And I said, well, let me take you to customer service. Yeah. And they'll be able to help you there.
Perfect. And you handed him off?
So I walked him all the way to customer service and like put him, I was like, there you go. And then I went about my business. And then afterwards, I had purchased like my disposable razors and whatever else I was buying. And he saw me in the little self-checkout, like checking my things out and getting my bag and leaving. And he looked very confused.
You probably assumed your shift had just ended and you were just going to buy something, hopefully.
One can only hope, because God forbid he suspect that I'm not actually an employee.
Angry.
I do love the weird urge that I have to play these things out, where I don't know why I care what the old man thinks.
Yeah.
Maybe it's just to divert myself or something, I don't know.
Yeah,
it's kind of amusing.
It amuses you, it gives you something to do. The Starbucks is closest here. There's a woman that's been there for years. I only go in there occasionally, very rarely. Mm-hmm. An older woman, and she's always like, oh, you. And then she wants to talk about work and stuff, and I'm like, I don't work at Starbucks. Still, the last time I went in there like a week ago to get a Frappuccino, she was like, so what's been going on? And blah, 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 about work. And I was like, I don't work at Starbucks.
See, that's just me, though, is if she did that to me, I'd be like, well, you know about Susie.
Yeah.
She's pregnant. And then I would just go off on this bullshit, and she would have no idea what I was talking about, and then I'd be amused, and even though, I mean, and if the old man had come up and immediately said, do you work here? I would say, no, I don't work here.
Yeah.
But he got me in the conversation, and then I just went with
the fact that he assumed that you did.
I had another good experience today, too, just a random stranger encounter. My whole thing of trying to be friendly to people, which I'm still trying to go through with, it's still not really working too well. I had the old man yesterday, and then today I got my coffee at the bakery as usual, and was standing outside on the corner, and this little kid was outside a coffee shop with an ice cream cone and a dog.
Oh, and what a quaint scene.
Yeah, and he was holding the dog's leash, and at one point he was fiddling around on the ground trying to tie the leash around a pole or something, and the dog just started like blah, 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 like slavering all over his ice cream cone, and the little kid had no idea this was happening, and so I was like, your dog's eating your ice cream there, buddy, thinking, it'll be nice, have a little interaction here, and the kid's like, Kyle, what are you doing? Stop it, Kyle, stop it! And starts yelling at the dog, whose name was Kyle, apparently. As he's doing this, his mom comes out, She's like, what did Kyle do? Kyle was eating my ice cream. He's like, Kyle. And they all both start berating Kyle, just like yelling and screaming at Kyle. And I realized I never should have opened my fucking
No,
mouth.
you shouldn't, because he probably would have got away with it. Kyle would have been fine.
Kyle would have been
If you hadn't said
scot-free.
anything, he's probably been doing that for years, right? Just looking at anything that's down by his face. And you blew his whole, like,
I know.
scene. Yeah, that's
This is
terrible.
I should never speak to anyone ever, basically.
No. And no one should ever name their dog Kyle.
I love the name Kyle for a dog. If I ever get a dog, it's going to be Kevin or Steve. And then I heard a good rumor about myself this weekend.
Oh, good.
Which is also bagelery related. I love it when I hear rumors about myself because
Yeah.
they're usually hilarious.
Rumors get going about you.
Well, you don't think about people talking about you,
Yeah.
but they do. And
Yeah.
even if you're nobody, because you think about us when we just see random people wandering around, we'll be like, hey, and we'll,
Yeah, we give them nicknames often.
give them nicknames, and then if we see them often enough, you come up with a little backstory. And
Yeah.
I ran into this guy who works at the bagelery. Don't know him, never spoke to him, but he recognized me as a regular customer.
Yes.
And so he came up to me and was like, hello there. I'm like, oh, hello. And he introduced himself. He's like, you go into the bagelery a lot. I'm like, yes, I do. And then he started talking about how, at the bagelery, there's over 32 employees and almost all of them are female. And I was like, okay, yes, I've noticed that. He said, they all have their stories about you. I was like, oh, really? And apparently the rumor at the bagelery is that I own my own clothing label. And because he mentioned that too, he's like, oh, you're always so well dressed. I was like, okay, thank you. I do my best.
Your own clothing
He's like,
label.
yeah, everyone says that you own your own clothing label and you're really big. I'm like, nope, that's not the case. It's like, really? Because, yeah, they're always talking about like how, yeah, you do deals like you've had to go to New York and stuff like that. And I was like,
See, that's just completely made up, completely whole
and that
cloth.
is so detailed too.
Yeah, that's the thing where it's like, I can understand if someone like threw that out as an idea, like clothing label, maybe.
Yeah.
But the idea that it's like, flew to New York for a deal, it's like, that's pretty specific.
Well, it's like, okay, you see the guy, maybe I'm dressed a certain way often enough, and you're like, oh, he's well dressed. Maybe he's into fashion design or something like that. And that's where it should stop. People be like, well, maybe he is.
But we start getting the cities
to take
you fly
that
to.
Yes, he does have a clothing label. Yes, he's very big, and he was in Milan for Fashion Week. So now the truth is so much of a disappointment.
Oh God, it's going to like
compared to the
destroy
rumor.
that place. They'll have to shut down.
So I was like, well, don't ruin the mystique.
Let's see where this goes.
It's like, okay, definitely. So then that's why I dressed up. So then that was on Friday
that's a good
night.
reason to dress up.
So then the next day I was going to go to the bakery. So that's where I wore like a tie and everything, and I strut through the door.
You feel their eyes on you.
Well, I was trying to eye all the employees to see if they were giving me sidelong glances or anything like that. But
Oh my God. So bored walking. You live in Bellingham and go to the bagel every day. It's a hotbed of fashion here.
If one of them were of an age to date, and then for some reason, did the old waitress trick of putting your number on a bill or something, and then realizing once I pull up in my 93 Volkswagen Passat, like, hey, what's going on?
It's like, it's very ironic that he drives this. Yeah. That mistake's never been made about me.
So today's show, we don't have a street freak of the week.
Wah, wah.
I know, I did not have any encounters with homeless people. There was like a tottering dude with a cane who had a 2-liter thing of Coke and a tin of Doritos. Have you ever seen a tin of Doritos? It was like a coffee can of Doritos.
That seems really oldie time.
No, but it was like brand new.
Like a gift? I don't
know.
That's weird.
I've never seen that before. But anyway, he had one under each arm, and he was like walking around, and I kept stationing myself near him to see if he would say anything to me, but he never did. So that was an opportunity.
An opportunity
missed.
lost. Oh, Doritos sound really good, though. I could go for some of those.
Yeah. But we do have a listener feedback.
Dear Warren and Bradley, I am writing this missive to let you know that I was utterly delighted with last week's episode. Your tales of prostitutes and the indigent are always quite illuminating, and I say, could you turn off that racket? Turn it off, I say! What are you doing? Can't hear myself.
Listener feedback on the Warren and Bradley Show.
All right. This email is from listener Matt from Seattle. It says, podcast equals very good. I've continued listening each week since I first heard about it.
Oh, good.
Mainly because it's pretty awesome.
Oh.
Hope you're getting more and more downloads. Production is honestly top-notch. Well, that's nice to hear. Thank you very much, Matt.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Comments. Brad looks very dirty with a beard in a creepy way.
Yeah, that's true.
Comment number 2. I don't know Warren, but he looks huggable with a beard in a non-creepy way.
Yeah, that's true, too.
And then he asks a question, which I don't know if it would be enough to have for a complete That's How Women Are segment. Maybe we'll just fold this into our listener feedback segment. This might be misogynistic, too. We'll see what you guys think. What are your thoughts on pregnant women in the workplace? I dislike them. They breast pump at work, leave their breast milk in the communal microwave, and also take maternity leave, requiring me to do their work. Then they come back to work and go on maternity leave again after another 3 months, again requiring me to do their work. Perhaps a That's How Women Are? Warren, have you ever dealt with this? I work in construction, so there aren't a lot of women on maternity leave in my business. But
yes, there are women at my work. One just came back recently from maternity leave. She's a pretty good worker, though. I don't think there's any issue. But it is a problem if that person's work isn't getting replaced and they just leave, and then it just leaves a lot on the plate for everyone else.
What's the standard maternity leave? Like how long? How long do they?
I don't know. I was wondering about this because there's some attempt by Congress to pass some sort of legislation to mandate it.
Yeah.
And then but you won't get paid for that, though, right?
No. And it's another example of them making it even harder for women to get a job by supposedly making it easier for women is when an employer is faced with hiring someone who might take like 9 months off or something. Like, I don't know if I want to do that.
I know the person at my work was only gone for a couple months.
Yeah.
But I think she had worked right up to when it was happening, and then she came back as soon as possible.
Does she breast pump at work?
Not that I know of.
Have you ever had some odd tasting milk that was in the communal refrigerator?
I doubt that she's like putting her breast milk in the refrigerator, and then I doubt I drink milk at work too. Which
I've always been very curious what breast milk tastes like.
Well, I think you can get it at places.
You can buy human breast milk?
Well, you can buy like cheese made from it. I don't think you're supposed to,
What?
but I think you can.
So like at the
I've
farmer's
heard about people
market or
getting
something?
it. Maybe you can't buy it, but I've heard about people eating it.
Now I'm imagining some weird underground breast milk mill where women are kept in stalls with like breast pumps on them all the
hippie
time.
bullshit. People are like, oh yeah, that's the greatest thing ever. Keep you alive for a million years. That kind of stuff. But I don't know. I wouldn't. Would you drink some? If I had a glass right now, would you drink it?
No, it depends on what boob it came out of.
Perfectly healthy. No track marks. Just young woman, just had her first child. Now she just had a little extra, and I could have a shot.
Would it be pasteurized?
No. You want to pasteurize the breast milk?
I don't know. It's bodily fluids. It's kind of
No, yeah, exactly. It's gross. I
was never breastfed as a child, and so breast milk has never passed my lips. And I'm curious about. I was like, if I had a wife and she was breastfeeding, would I want to take a little suck there and see what was going on, or would I be like, well, I'm curious. Like, it's interesting.
I breastfed as a child, but I don't remember it, and I'm not like curious now about what had happened.
But maybe you have some sort of like biological memory of the taste of breast milk.
Well, I'm probably like healthier than you. Let's take that.
Oh, yeah. I got sick constantly as a kid, and they think that was probably because I didn't have the immune system that I would have had if I had
Because during the years before our birth, it was very popular not to breastfeed.
Yeah, they always went through those weird phases. Yeah.
And then people were like, looked down upon like breastfeeding. Like,
Which is the most ridiculous thing in the world. Like, this is what drives me insane about the medical profession and science in general, is like there was a period where these idiots said, well, God damn it, that's horrible. Don't breastfeed. Use this formula. Like, what kind of fool would ever think that?
It's sort of like that is really an attack on common sense at that point, right?
Yeah.
So you think like, I got a system set up here we've worked this out over millions of years. It's like the baby comes out, the baby drinks breast milk, and then the baby like grows up. It's like, we don't need to get around that somehow.
But science knows best, people. But yeah, I don't know about like some stranger's breast milk, but maybe if I had a wife.
Friend?
I don't know.
An acquaintance?
No, like if I were intimately involved.
Okay, if you had a wife and she was giving some of the baby, you might take a little and try it.
And then the baby would be starving, and I'd
be looking at you,
suckling at my wife's teats, and then it would be this horrible thing.
The baby gets formula.
Brad, you gained a lot of weight since your wife had that baby.
Oh, it's supposed to be very rich in nutrients, right? It's all fatty and really.
I just imagine myself all kind of like doughy and plump cheeked, like
a little bow on your head, wearing a diaper everywhere.
Is breast milk even white?
I think so, yeah. I think I've seen it before.
Okay.
It's sort of that yellowish white that milk is sometimes. Yeah. But I mean, haven't you ever seen like pumped breast milk in like a bottle somewhere? I feel like I have. It just looks like milk.
I think we're getting off Matt's topic. I'm assuming Matt was being facetious. It's been a long time, but we're having a train break.
Oh, good.
This is a train break.
Man, it's been a long time since we had a train break.
Yeah, that's weird, isn't it?
Yeah, I noticed. See, we usually record at 2:30ish on a Sunday afternoon.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Maybe for some reason they're just not scheduling them around that time. In the evenings, though, when I'm here alone, it's just like every fucking minute it seems like a train's going by.
I live many blocks away from the train tracks, and I can hear them at night, too, a lot.
Yeah.
I hear that echo of the train.
If we record on an evening during the middle of the week, the whole show would be just a train break, basically.
That would make for a very good show.
Yeah, it might be entertaining. You should try it.
I was just yelling train break and playing the song over and over again.
Yeah, that's good. Oh, speaking of train break, this is point number 4 on our listener's email. Are you aware you have completely stolen your train break from Comedy Death Ray, now Comedy Bang Bang, as they have been doing plane breaks for at least 9 months?
I don't know what that is.
I have no idea what Comedy Death Ray or Comedy Bang Bang is. 9 months. We started the show, 6 months ago.
Yeah.
Or a little over 6 months ago.
Yeah, but we haven't had the train break the entire time either.
Yeah. Oh, fuck them.
That's what I say too. Fuck these people.
It's called convergent evolution.
It is.
Well, if Comedy Death Ray, now known as Comedy Bang Bang, has a problem with train break, they can contact us.
And they can go fuck themselves.
Yeah.
That's the other thing they can do.
We'll have our legal representation draft a letter which says, go fuck yourself.
Oh, yeah. Not a problem.
Yeah, that was pretty good listener feedback time. Maybe we should.
That was great.
This has been listener feedback on the Warren and Bradley Show. If you'd like to get in touch, send your questions, comments, and concerns to podcast@warrenandbradley.com. Celebrity Minute on the Warren and Bradley Show.
So today, prior to Warren coming over, I was about to fire up the computer to look through our exhaustive research where we cull our celebrity stories for the week. And it is so irritating to me to even just read through the stories and try to pick any. And I try to pick some that have something that we could say about it.
Yeah.
But pretty much every fucking story that I see is, look at her in her beach bump. Beach bump? Look at her in her bikini body. Or her beach bod. Or her baby bump. Or...
There's really, like, no actual, like, news.
No. Like, here's a good example. Top story. Fire at De Niro's New York City apartment. No injuries. A fire that broke out in Robert De Niro's Manhattan apartment has been extinguished. That's the fucking story.
That was it, people. There's a picture of De Niro with an award of some sort.
Shows him holding, I don't know what the fuck that award is, some file photo. Apparently, in the laundry room of his New York apartment, a fire started. The firemen came and they put it out.
Yeah.
Had nothing, it didn't go to his apartment. There was no smoke damage, no injuries, nothing.
And that's the
whatsoever.
most newsworthy story, I think.
What's another good example here? Uh-oh. Taylor Swift, John Mayer have tense near run-in.
Can you have a tense near run-in?
No, you can't have a tense
Because you have to
near
have a
run-in.
run-in to have it for it to be tense
For
at
it to
all.
be tense, there must be a run-in.
Yeah,
there's no
that's
such
true.
thing as a tense near run-in. So this story is, on Tuesday night, Taylor Swift had the misfortune of dropping by Celeb Hangout Sunset Tower in West Hollywood, where she ran into none other than former fling John Mayer, except she didn't actually run into him. He was at the same restaurant, and they were in opposite sides of the dining area, and maybe they looked at each other once.
Do you think it was tense for the hostess because she was like worried that they might like
It might have been very tense, or for the gathered paparazzi.
who were like, oh crap, what's going to happen when they run
I
into
know.
each other?
Well, because obviously they didn't want feelings to be hurt. They didn't want any sort of altercation to develop. That would be horrible.
They'd love it. Taylor Swift, how old is she?
22.
Isn't John Mayer in his 50s by now?
John Mayer, he's like 34.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's prime age there, buddy. Aren't
Yes,
you dating
it
like a
is.
24 or 25-year-old or something?
How dare you?
So that's another example of an amazing story that we found here. So basically nothing happened. They were both in the same restaurant. What's another good one here? Oh, wait. Bikini-clad Kathy Griffin hits beach with new boyfriend. And there's a picture of 50-something Kathy Griffin in the arms of her 30-something boyfriend.
This was news to me because I, for some reason, thought Kathy Griffin was a lesbian.
Yeah, you did think that.
Yeah, so I was like, really like, oh, what's going on here?
Are you making some sort of prejudicial remark against lesbians just because she has a grating personality? You assume that she must be a lesbian?
No, I just was sure that I had heard that. Or
Are you just hoping that she's a lesbian so there's no chance that you might accidentally have sex with her at some point in your life?
That would be nice.
Just get her out of the pool. Kathy Griffin flaunted her new younger boyfriend during a PDA-filled trip to the beach over the weekend in Miami. The outspoken comedian who flashed her granny panties on stage Saturday to her shocked co-host Gloria Stefan. What are they hosting together?
Maybe they're performing musically together.
She proudly showed off her body in an American flag bikini. The couple splashed around on the water, and Randy, I guess is her boyfriend, even picked the star up and carried her on the beach, while Griffin was more than happy to flaunt her figure. Randy kept his shirt on. That's the story.
Randy. His name's Randy.
Randy.
There's no last name.
He's Randy. This is news. This is celebrity news. This is Celebrity Minute on the Warren and Bradley Show. Whoa! Next story. Madonna exposes breast during Istanbul concert.
And there actually is a picture of this.
There's a picture of Madonna looking...
confused.
very odd picture. Okay.
Yeah.
So you've got Madonna who's, 50?
Yeah.
Something like that.
Too old.
Looks frightening. She's wearing some sort of bikini, bra-ish, like lingerie top. You can see her disturbingly buff shoulder and bicep.
Yeah.
As she goes and looks down at the boob that she's exposing.
Yeah.
As though, I don't know, she seems slightly bemused by its appearance.
She doesn't even seem that interested.
No.
I don't know what's going on.
I don't know. And there's a little, this is from Us Magazine, so there is an us covering the nipple, because the nipple is the most profane part of the female breast. This is a story. This is a celebrity news story. Lindsay Lohan gets back to work after scary car crash. She was in a crash, wasn't hurt.
She's in a crash every week.
Well,
Is Amanda Bynes in a crash this time?
no, but Amanda Bynes did tweet Obama asking him to fire the cop who arrested her for her drunk driving infraction.
No, really?
Yeah, she did. I mean, I'm sure she was being facetious, but...
Are you sure?
Well, who knows? But this is another example. The only reason this story is interesting about Lindsay Lohan is because there was no sign of impairment whatsoever.
She's just crashing.
She just
now.
crashed.
That's what happens eventually.
Yeah.
You don't even need to get drunk or high to crash. You start crashing everywhere.
I'm still just waiting for her to...
Die.
Well, I don't want to say that because that's not
But I
very
mean,
nice.
that's what we're all kind of waiting for, right?
I'm kind of assuming that's going to happen at some point. Is that enough?
We have one more story. It looks like. What's this other story? Let's bring it up here.
Charlize Theron opens up about scary blind date for charity during an appearance on TBS's Conan Tuesday. That's called Conan Tuesday now.
Maybe the Tuesday show is probably Wednesday. It's called Conan Wednesday.
On TBS's Conan, Tuesday it should have been. The star of Snow White and the Huntsman and Prometheus regaled host Conan O'Brien, 49. Why do they always have the ages of everybody involved?
I don't know. It's a celebrity magazine.
With a story about being auctioned off on a blind date for charity. Do not do it. It's like the worst idea ever. Theron, 36, warned the redheaded comic. The redheaded comic. It's one of the things where I was like, yeah, I'm a dumb blonde. Who does that? Apparently she went on a It doesn't say what the charity was for, but she went to a restaurant with some dude. He was kind of creepy, and she didn't like it.
The thing about that story is that it'd be better if there were actually some details rather than her just being creeped out by some guy.
Well, this have we kind of established this pattern for all these stories?
There's just
lately,
nothing going on.
Hopefully next week someone will die. So there'll be some sort of altercation or fist fight, maybe a shooting, a fiery car accident, or some actual news. Other than just most of the stories when I'm looking through are somebody steps out in hot low-cut dress, and there's a picture of said celebrity stepping out in hot low-cut dress.
Yeah,
and it's like the most popular story on the Wonder Wall. Which is not where we get our news.
Don't reveal our sources. People will go right to the Wonder Wall rather than listen to the show.
Okay, this has been Celebrity Minute on the Warren and Bradley Show.
This has been Celebrity Minute on the Warren and Bradley Show.
What?
What?
Time for the beard off.
Yeah.
It's a motherfucking beard off, yo!
It's the Warren and Bradley Show, Beard Off 2012. Two men enter, only one can emerge victorious, as Warren and Bradley pit one set of whiskers against the other in the ultimate test of follicular fortitude. The rules are simple. No trimming, shaving, pruning, or plucking for one entire month, at the end of which we'll find out who's a man and who's a testosterone-deficient ladyboy.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we have just entered the 28th day of the great Warren and Bradley Beard Off 2012 Spectacular. It has been 4 weeks since Warren and I shaved and then let our facial hair do what nature intended. And now, it's up to you to decide who has the most virile and manly beard. We've been posting weekly updates showing our beards, usually fairly low-resolution pictures where you can't actually even see anything. But
I took my picture to Starbucks last week.
Yes, and I often take mine with like the front-facing camera on my iPhone, which is, not the greatest resolution. So this week, I'm actually going to take pictures of Warren myself. I took pictures of myself earlier this morning. We're going to post a side view and a front view, so you can get the full coverage. And then we're going to put a post. I might actually put a post up on Facebook before this episode airs so people can start voting right away so they can get their votes in early and often. I was pretty confident in winning, but then the other night we went out Friday and there was a guy who was very adamant that your beard was better than mine. I kind of get his point because your like goatee mustache area is thicker than mine, I think. It's more filled in general.
Yeah, I don't know.
But mine, I have full coverage. Look at this.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. I can't see any argument for mine being better because yours looks like a beard now.
I actually, from week 3 to week 4, kind of midweek, my facial hair went from being scruffed to being an actual beard.
You tipped, yeah.
Yeah, I turned the corner.
Yeah. I still look like I'm growing a scraggly, like, 14-year-old goatee.
I still can't get over the fact that you don't have sideburns. It's the weirdest thing to me. When you see like a 15-year-old Hispanic kid, he's always got a little bit of a mustache and he's got sideburns. Yeah. That's what you get.
Well, Hispanic kids do.
Yeah, but Hispanic kids are...
Us Dutch kids maybe aren't so lucky.
But
all I know is my people were growing tulips, damming things with dikes. Yeah. And they didn't have time for this facial hair bullshit.
But you're like Northern European.
Oh, it's temperate there, though.
I think it's a lack of testosterone in general.
It could very well be.
Because you're pretty hairless all over your body, aren't you?
I think, I don't know. I'm pretty normal haired, I feel like.
Do you even have pubic hair?
I have a few. 3. That would be weird, wouldn't it?
Yeah, that would be odd. See, I don't know, this is getting off into another tangent.
Okay, where are you
I'm trying to remember. I can't remember not having pubic hair.
This is the thing about me with pubic hair. I remember being a child and not having a pubic hair, and I remember one day noticing there was hair everywhere.
Yeah.
And I don't remember any, like, transitory period.
I'm trying to... I think if I really rack my brain, I can probably remember some time of me, like, on the toilet when I'm 4 or something and looking down and noticing that there's... Well, not noticing that there's no pubic hair, but just realizing...
Yeah.
Well, I wouldn't realize anything. But I'm sure there's a point I could think back where I have nothing going on down there.
If we hypnotized you, we could probably bring you back.
These repressed memories.
Yes.
But... It's a weird thing. Maybe it has something to do with just like your sexuality being such an important component of your personality or something. But I can only think of my genitals in their mature form. And you're totally right. Like, there's no period where I can think of like, oh, there's some pubic hair coming in there.
But I do remember being a child and noticing that it was like all there. And I was like, oh, that's
well, I remember
weird.
that with all my body hair, like leg hair, underarm hair. It was like one day, bam, it was all there. But I know there had to be a period where it was growing in.
Yeah, I guess so.
Fascinating.
Oh, it's fascinating. The thing was, I always dream that someday I'll have a beard, but...
I don't know if it's going to happen. I think the mustache is where I'm going next, probably. I don't know if I'm going to hold on to the beard. I initially was going to, like, just shave this thing off immediately as soon as I could. Now I might let it go a little longer just to see what happens, and then I think next plan for Brad... is to go with the mustache, kind of this mustache, the longer handlebar mustache, and then leave the soul patch thing going on there.
Oh, yeah.
I kind of want to let it grow long and pointy. Might be interesting.
That's going to make you look evil, though, man.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
Oh, this is great. I'm excited about this.
Yeah, so we'll see. If I do that, maybe we'll take a picture and put it up online. So the whole point of this...
Voting.
We're going to have a post, probably on Facebook, and we'll also do a news post on our website. All you got to do is write in and let us know whose beard is best.
Yeah.
And then next week, we'll have the final results of the Beard Off 2012.
We will count your votes. We will come up with a winner. That's what we do here. You're a train conductor.
Okay.
And you've got 3 kids and a wife who's kind of sick.
Uh-huh.
And you're trying to take care of this little family you've got.
Right.
You've already killed someone with your train running over them.
Okay.
At one point.
No fault of my own.
Well, there's talk. The boss at the train yard's like...
Well, they don't stop on a dime.
Listen to me. He says, Brad, you hit one more person, you'll lose your job. Uh-huh. And your kids will starve. And you're like, why are you telling me about my kids starving? No. He's like, just to make sure you understand. So you're out doing the old night run with the old train.
Right.
Toot, toot, toot.
Is this like a Burlington Northern Santa Fe?
Yes,
like
Burlington Northern Santa Fe. You got
it's like
cold,
a mile long.
Yeah, very
train.
long train. You're tooting along. You hit a kind of methy hobo.
Right. You just passed out on the track.
Yes.
Did I even notice him beforehand? Or
you didn't notice him.
Okay.
You couldn't have done anything. You saw him for a second, and then all of a sudden, you knock him over.
I don't think I even feel it, really.
No. You're like, ah, crap. What'd you do with that hobo? You're not going to confess to this killing, are you? The problem is, you confess to it, the boss is going to fire you. But if you bury this hobo corpse and the police find out about it later, you're going to prison probably.
Probably, because it could be just an unavoidable accident normally. See, but I don't know if my boss has any grounds to fire me for running over these hobos, because there's hobos on the tracks all the time, and you can't keep stopping the train.
Your boss says he's sick of it. Maybe it's happened like 9 times at this point.
My boss is
and the press is getting all over you, and they're all over him. They're like, you got to get rid of this guy. And like really, every time it's an accident.
Really, what do you do though? Because you don't see the hobo.
No.
And the train, it takes forever for the train. They start stopping like a mile before they stop.
Yeah.
So my boss is being unreasonable.
He's being unreasonable, but he's your boss.
I run over the hobo. I don't even know if I would know that I ran over the hobo.
Did you see? You briefly see his like addled face
and then this
in
fine
the light
red mist.
Yeah.
And so I'd have to start stopping the train.
Yeah.
And it would take a long time.
You have to walk back
stop.
and find the corpse.
Do they still have those cow catchers on the front anymore?
No,
I don't think they do.
No, that's really old timey. Well, they used to have cars like with those too.
Yeah. So I wonder if there would be much left, really. How much on the tracks was he? Was he fully on the tracks, or was it just like his head laying onto the tracks?
You kind of like clipped his head and like smashed in his face and stuff like that.
So I severed the top of his head. And his
but it's like there's a lot of body left there on the side.
Okay, so basically the head's gone. That's just a pulpy mist.
Yes.
Maybe I'd have to hose down the engine or whatever.
Yeah. You'd probably take out a damn cloth and wipe it down.
I wonder what I'm carrying. See, because sometimes I've noticed on the trains they have all those big drums of hydrochloric acid.
You think you could pull that off?
I think I mean,
And you could like dissolve his body?
is there anybody else on the train other than the
No, it's a
conductor?
freight train. Or maybe the like engine fireman or whatever the other guy's name is. He's there. But he's like,
Fireman.
what's the stoker or something?
They don't have to stoke the trains; they run on diesel.
I think they just
Stop
give
yelling at
these,
me about the cow catcher.
they give them these names. I don't know what they're called.
They're
The
still called
co-pilot.
They're still called the stoker.
Yeah, or something like that.
I don't know.
He's like drunk and asleep.
Okay.
And you're looking at him like being like,
Well,
why'd
there
they
might be
fire
some
him?
other hobos that have jumped the train too at some point.
Yeah, but as far as you can tell, you don't see anybody that sees you.
Okay. If my boss were unreasonable and he
Yes.
was going to fire me for killing my 9th hobo, but I just don't see this happening. I stopped the train. Obviously, they know. They all have GPSs in them. They're like, okay, why the fuck did you stop the train? I'm in contact with Burlington Northern Santa Fe or whatever. I'm like, oh, there's a bison on the track or something.
What you would say was something like, I felt a little weird shimmy in the engine. I'm going to check it out.
Right.
You could come. You're an experienced.
So I'm gonna pop the hood and take
You're
a
an
look
experienced
underneath. See
conductor.
what's
Yeah,
going on.
you can know what to do.
Okay, so what if people eventually find the body and they know he got run over by a train, but they never know what train it was? Would I be off the hook then?
That's an interesting gamble you would take, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
You'd have to gamble that the next train that came by didn't notice the dead hobo there. Because they probably call it in and be like, I saw it. And they're like, what was the last train that went through there? And they're like, Bradley! And then you get fired.
Yeah, and if I move the body, they would be able to tell. I don't know if this is going anywhere.
That's why it's a tough situation.
There's a lot of talk about us trying to get away with murder on this show. Well, that's not murder. I mean, that's an accident. But it is a good question, though. Like, if you accidentally killed somebody,
Yeah.
and the circumstances of the accident were such that there would be a high probability that people would suspect that
Yeah.
you actually had murdered the person. You know, you're going to go. There's a good example. Sometimes we go shooting with our friend John, the IT guy.
Yeah.
We're there. We go to this rock quarry. We're shooting our guns off. Actually, it's just you and John. There's nobody else there.
Yeah.
Earlier that day, you and John had a vicious argument.
They've been witnessed by many people.
Oh yeah, about you mowing the lawn. You ran over his hydrangea bushes. He was very angry about this. He just planted those last year. He had been like nursing them to life. You ran him over. He screamed at you. He threatened to kick you out of the house. And you're like, oh yeah, I wouldn't do that if I were you. And then
we go off for a nice
you
journey
put that
together.
argument behind you. Nobody sees the resolution of the argument.
Yeah.
They just see this huge blow up, and you guys go shooting. John, you know, he's got an AR-15. He's got all these guns, and you guys decide to throw the old clay pigeons around.
Yeah.
You're going to shoot them with the old shotgun. John is throwing the clay pigeons up, and you're bam, bam, just like knocking one down after the other. But John, I don't know how this would work.
I'm wondering where you're going, because this is interesting. I'm like, how can I make this an accident?
John flings these clay pigeons, and you're just zoned in on these things.
Yeah.
Like you're just banging away. One, he flips it up, but it goes straight up in the air. You shoot it, and this wouldn't work with a shotgun. You're shooting the clay pigeons with an assault rifle.
Okay.
Not with the shotgun.
Good.
You shoot the clay pigeon. It goes straight up in the air. The bullet hits the pigeon.
Ricochets
wow, that was
down.
amazing. But then it gets to the end of its trajectory and falls back down to earth, hits John right in the top of the head, kills him dead.
This is the thing about that. I would still probably go to the police and just tell them what happened.
Why would they believe you?
I don't know, but the thing is, it's like the idea of like hiding it or trying to like cover it up in some weird way would be more stressful to me than just being like,
just going to prison.
This is and being like, I'll take my chance at the criminal justice system.
Well, I'd be there testifying to the fact that you guys had a heated argument.
Hydrangea bush dispute.
You have powder burns on your hands because you were so close.
I handled the weapon that shot the bullet into his head. Yeah, I also shot the bullet into the top of his head. How did I do that?
God damn it! I was trying to think of a good way.
I was wondering where you were going. I didn't know. And the idea that you can fire straight up and have it come straight down, I have to be so precise and account for like the rotation of the Earth.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Well, maybe it wasn't straight up, and then the rotation of the Earth made it come down to the right place again. John just isn't very lucky, basically, and neither are you because you're going to prison.
Convicted for murdering someone by shooting him in the top of the head.
All right, we tried. Is that all the time we have?
I think that's all the time we have for today's show.
All right, then. This is Bradley Victor.
And this is Warren Van telling you keep your face in the stars and your eyes in the ground.
Is that right?
No.
What is this supposed to be?
This has been the Warren and Bradley Show, brought to you by Warren Van and Bradley Victor. For podcast news and information, like the show on Facebook at facebook.com/Warren and Bradley. Follow the show on Twitter at Warren and Brad. Subscribe on iTunes and leave a review. For episode archives and episode pictures, go to warrenandbradley.com, and to contact the show, write to podcast@warrenandbradley.com.